Good morning. For those of you active in social media, please tag us at BITCI Ireland in your comments, and I would encourage you to use the hashtag CEO Forum 19. Twitter IDs of our panelists and speakers will be appearing at the bottom of the screen again if you wish to avail of that. Climate change, climate crisis, planetary emergency, ecocide, eco-anxiety. What does all this mean to you? 1 million species threatened with extinction, our oceans getting warmer, more acid, and less productive. 1.5 degrees, the danger line for global warming. Is any of this relevant in your own business strategies? Stranded assets, scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions, net zero, net positive. Where do those figures fit in your P&L accounts? Conscious capitalism, circular and regenerative economy, green bonds, ethical fashion, flight shame, flexitarianism. Is this just a fad, or is this just the business model of the future? Let me quote, and I'm sure you know where this comes from. "You have stolen my dreams with your empty words. Entire ecosystems are collapsing, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth." I wonder if, aside from Greta Thunberg, that sentiment comes as any of your customer research or your employee feedback. How do you factor some of these numbers, I wonder? Let me quote. 10,275 number of homeless people in Ireland in the month of July. 1,403, the average monthly rent, as announced by Daft earlier this week. 1,656, the national minimum wage in this country. 14% gender pay gap in Ireland. 16% the unemployment rate of African migrants in this country, compared to less than 4% for migrants from EU countries. I wonder, do these numbers really reflect the society we want to live, aside from the missed opportunity for all the talent that's out there? But we also need to look beyond our shores. Growing inequality, a disengaged society, and polarized politics are demonstrating that the current system is not necessarily working for everybody. Protests like the ones seen in Chile, Lebanon, or even the Yellow Vest movement in France closer to us are demonstrating that and are telling us that this could happen anywhere. It could happen here as well. Trust in business remains challenged in many ways. Let me just give you one example. Last year, the total remuneration package of Bob Iger, CEO of the Walt Disney Company, reached $65.7 million. That's exactly 1,424 times more than the average salary for a Disney employee, and that definitely caused a bit of noise. Interestingly, Disney wasn't the only company on that front. In fact, CEOs of companies like Starbucks, Mattel, and The Gap were earning up to 3,000 times the median salary of their employees? Question mark. In August, over 190 CEOs within the Business Roundtable in the US signed up to a new commitment, a new statement of redefining the role of a business that needs to balance the needs of its shareholders with customers, employees, suppliers, and local communities. And I'm sure you wonder what's new in that statement. However, this is a welcome statement. It's great to see the largest companies in the world making such a bold announcement towards a more benign capitalism. But we need to ensure that that doesn't stay as empty words, or as it was quoted in the Irish media, self-serving guff. Employee activism is also a trend that I'm sure you're seeing within your companies. So whether it's open letters, employee walkouts like we've seen in companies like Facebook or Google, claiming more action on climate change or tackling harassment, really demonstrate the power of what employees want to do. They want to work for companies with a purpose. And this is more than just another survey that we can present to you. That's more than anecdotal evidence. Investor interest in the space remains critical. And I'm sure you all have seen or read in terms of the growth of ESG investments. Last year, it soared to $30 trillion. And you saw some of the announcements last week during Climate Finance Week, or even the famous BlackRock letter that we would have commented years before in this forum in terms of, Larry Fink and his famous letter asking companies to demonstrate the societal value they create or risk losing their investment. Government is also active in this front, and I'm sure there's a lot of things we could be commenting. Very important for me would have been that last December, with all party support, the Oireachtas approved the Fossil Fuel Divestment Act, first country in the world to do that. And probably we didn't celebrate that enough. And also the fact that during this year, guidelines were published on sustainable public procurement for the over 12 billion that the state spends on procurement. And of course, we have a climate action plan, and that's a very welcome move. According to Edelman Trust Barometer, and I'm sure you know this figure very well, 75% of Irish adults expect CEOs to lead on change rather than waiting for government to do it. So I think the call for action is to yourselves, the leaders, the CEOs that are in this room this morning. Okay, enough of bleak and setting the tone in a certain way. In most events, you're asked to put your phones away, but I might ask you if you wouldn't mind taking them out, because we're going to do a very quick online temperature check. So if you can please take your phones up, and you can take off the password, and you will see on the screen. So can you please get your browsers up and go to www.menti.com. Okay, once you're in, looks like everybody's there. You're being asked a very simple question. First of all, sorry, you need to punch in the code that's at the top of the screen, 497338. Okay, looks like everybody's okay. So that's a question for you, and I can see some of you already answered. So what we're trying to see is how prepared are your companies for some of these changes? And given that this is anonymous, please be honest. We won't give names, we won't even say which table the response comes from. Just tell us how you feel about it, and we can actually see how many responses are there. So, and I love people saying this is not relevant to us, because that's also a very valid response. Okay, looks like the numbers are more or less getting stable there. Around 40% of you saying this morning you do have a clear roadmap as to where you're going in terms of this challenging societal and environmental issues, and around 40% of you saying you're working on it, getting there. Excellent. 16% saying not yet. We're managing other more urgent issues, and our honest 2% person saying it's none of my business. Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much for that. That's a really good way of setting the tone in terms of what we're going to discuss today. I'm delighted that our forum is taking place on a very special week. Not only this is a Science Week, which is taking a very special focus on climate change, but it's also the inaugural RTE on Science Week, and I'd like to pay tribute to both RTE and Science Foundation Ireland for such an extraordinary focus on climate change. Without a doubt, there has never been such a strong focus on sustainability and focus on the role of business in tackling the sustainability challenges you all know very well. In fact, it's driving a lot of stiff competition amongst you, and that's really good to see happening, that competition is happening in the world of sustainability. As key advisors in sustainability and CSR, our role is to help you navigate that transition, and that's what we're going to try to do over the next few years with our strategy that Ronan was mentioning earlier. Sustainability has to be a strategic priority for every board and for every CEO. For us, it's more than just doing the right thing for the environment. Sustainability is about future-proofing your business, and that's what we're going to try and do. As you know, a strategic element of our work is directed by our leaders group on sustainability. It's a platform of CEOs, and they're directing our development on our 3 fundamental areas of work. I would like to take a minute to acknowledge the great leadership of our co-chairs who are here this morning. On low carbon, Mark Foley and Dennis O'Sullivan. On social cohesion, Ken Scully and Sinead Patton. And on Worker of the Future, Alistair Blair. And they're playing an amazing role in trying to push that agenda for us. 2 key areas of our work can be summarized in social cohesion and the work we're trying to do there in embedding meaningful social inclusion in business. And my colleague Maura Horgan will be later talking about our inclusive employer proposition and how we're trying to make that a reality in many Irish businesses. I'm going to take a minute to talk about low carbon because this time last year, in this same room, we announced our low carbon pledge. At the time, we had around 40 companies, and I'm delighted to say that as of last night, there are 54 companies within the low carbon pledge. And although our ambition is to keep on growing, we feel we're in the right place to keep on raising a collective voice on the need for corporate Ireland to show that they're also leading the way on climate action. We know what the end goal is. The end goal is net zero. It's in the European Union's ambition, is in the government's climate action plan, and that's where we need to get. Last year, our ambition was around measuring, communicating, setting targets and reporting on Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions. And I'm delighted to announce that as of today, we're going to incorporate some elements of Scope 3 into the equation. Particularly, we're going to look at business travel, water consumption, and waste generation, because we need to keep on raising the bar. Also, in June, we produced a report in conjunction with PwC, tracking the implementation of the low carbon pledge by all signatories. And I'm delighted to announce that we'll continue the partnership with PwC because it's bringing us a lot of rigor and discipline into how we're analyzing and ensuring we're implementing the pledge in the right way. Finally, I just want to let you know that we're going to publish research on Scope 3 emissions because it's a very complex area. It can be one of the most material impacts for most of your businesses, and we will be bringing the best research to help you navigate that space and set the proper targets. Okay, enough said about carbon. Let me bring you to this morning. So this morning's event is the Sustainability Roadmap for CEOs. And what we're going to have is a number of presentations on our CEO panel, which is definitely a highlight for us. So I'm really pleased that Caroline Casey, Martin Shanahan will be joining us on stage, and also our CEO panel, Caroline Lennon, Gavin Kelly, and Niall Brown, who are here this morning. But also, and very important for us, we have a record number of 16 companies that we will be announcing this morning on their recertification or first-time certification with the Business Working Responsibly mark. And that to us is critical to see that we're on a pathway to making sustainability a critical element of your business model, and that it's very well embedded. So as Ronan mentioned, we're going to be 20 years old next year. It's exciting. It's an opportunity to reflect on the past, look at the future, but also look together at the impact that you have generated over 20 years. And I'm very pleased to look at you and look around the room and see many of the companies that were members of business in the community from day one, who are our founders. And it will be fabulous to reflect on that. The culmination of this year of celebration will be on the 14th of October in Croke Park. So please make sure that that date is in your diaries, because you will get an invitation. The Sustainability Revolution will be the name of our conference, a new contract between business, society, and the planet. And that's certainly going to be a key highlight for us, and I hope it's going to be a key highlight for you as well. I'm very pleased to announce that so far, 5 companies have joined us in the journey towards this event. And I'm delighted to announce that IBM, KBC Bank, Musgrave, Permanent TSV, and Veolia have joined us as sponsors of that event. That is critical because it's going to allow us to deliver on an excellent event. There's still space in that slide, so if anybody would like to join this brave people, Maura Horgan will be more than happy to talk to you. It's hard to believe that I've spoken to you for almost 15 minutes, minus 20 seconds, and I haven't mentioned Brexit for once, looming general elections, or trade wars. So I wonder if there's something wrong with my speech. I guess the key message from us, from myself, from Ronan, from the board, and from everybody at Business in the Community, this is about thinking long-term, this is about aiming high, and this is about thinking of the next stage of your business and your business models. I am privileged to be surrounded by such extraordinary exemplars of leadership in Irish business. And if I think of the challenges we have ahead of us, but I look at you, I feel more confident that we'll be able to do it. The strength, the key to our success will be in working together and being part of this movement.